Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode.
Friend Johnny V, can't say his last name, so I won't try. We're doing a shared podcast today, so you're gonna catch this from both ends. So I'm Alex Harriman of the Breaking 90 podcast,
and I am John Vlahoyanakos of Strong Jon Fitness, and it points to anyone who can pronounce that correctly. I was waiting to see if you were going to go for it, but that's totally fine that you didn't.
Dude, I haven't tried to say your name since I've known you. Like, I guess we've known each other probably like 3 years now, and I've never even tried. It's I look at it and it makes sense when you say it, and then I just call you Johnny V or Strong John.
That's totally fine. It's like, and that's the thing with my last name too. Like, it doesn't flow. Like, it looks like a complicated jumble of letters. There's a V, there's a G, there's a bunch of N's, and you're like, I don't even know what this could even possibly sound like. It's not like a what's a simple Greek name I've seen, like a Stromos, or like, it's just, that's easy. Mine is like half an alphabet. So
yeah, it is. It really is. It's one of the hardest names I've ever seen to pronounce.
Yeah, nice. That's why I'm a good speller.
So if you guys are listening to this, some of you probably listen to the Breaking 90 podcast often. Some of you probably listen to the Strong Jon podcast. So thanks for being here. Hopefully you can find value on either side of it and maybe introduce you to another podcast to go check out. John, how long have you been in the health and fitness industry?
Officially since 2016. I should know this number. Yeah, February 2016 was my official start. Yeah, how about you?
I started like in person. I'll call it this because it was kind of a joke back then. But I started in person personal training in 2008, and so it took off from there. But a long time.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But it was funny because when I first started out, it was I worked at a YMCA, and most of the people that would get assigned to me were just like new people at the gym would get like a free session with the trainer to come like get introduced to the equipment and stuff like that. So you're not like, it wasn't really in depth, but it was my intro into the career space, which was fun, but it's a lot's changed since then.
Did you know you wanted to get into personal training? I don't think we've ever talked about this.
Not really. So in college, I took a diploma called Strength and Sport Conditioning, which was it was designed basically to work with athletes. And so I knew in high school I wanted to become a firefighter, and I played competitive volleyball at the time, and I was like, talked to a whole bunch of firefighters and was told you're not even going to get looked at till you're about 25 years old. So go get some life experience. And I was like, cool. Well, I love playing volleyball, and I'd like to become a better athlete. So I'm going to take this college diploma and teach myself how to become a better athlete. Nice. And that's kind of where it all stemmed from. What about yourself?
I had no idea what I wanted to do growing up. Like, my life was hockey, which sounds embarrassing as hell to say sometimes, but that was it. I was getting coached by different people. Like, I had opportunities to go play in Europe or US college. It was so expensive to go to the US I'm like, I can't. My family couldn't afford it. It was like $5,000 for a semester US.
Yeah.
And that was a partial ride at the time.
Right.
So I'm like, it's fine. But yeah, I don't know. I got into fitness more because of my own journey. Like a lot of other coaches I've talked to, it's like I was overweight, I was out of shape, like I didn't feel good comfortably, and I got a lot of help and experience. Like with, I worked with professional lacrosse players, former pro bodybuilder. Like once I got into my own kind of learning experience for myself, I was like, holy shit! Like it was eye opening, and I'm like, I can help other people do this too. So like we developed our own little workout crew with me, my brother, and our best friends, and we kind of became known as like the fitness people at our job. And from there, I'm like, I think I can really actually help people with this, because like everyone I talked to, and it was mostly women, just because of where I worked, and they were all like, I got to eat clean, and I can't have carbs this summer, and I'm like, this sucks, dude. Like, yes, you can, as I eat my cookies and like things like that. So that was more of my journey of like, I help myself, and I'm like, I can definitely help others avoid all the shit I went through too.
That's so funny. Our stories are so similar in that sense. When I first decided I wanted to help other people, I'm like, cool, I'm gonna help athletes.
Me too.
And when you're like a nobody trainer, uh, the athletes you have exposure to are nobody athletes who can't afford a trainer. And so I had the exact same thing. I had a bunch of mostly women who just wanted to get in better shape. And I'm like, oh, I better figure this out really quick.
Yeah.
And now I've obviously, I mean, both you and I work with similar populations. I enjoy it way better than working with athletes now.
Yeah. I wanted to work with hockey players. Like, my goal was at the time, before I became a personal trainer, I was like, I want to get my personal trainer certification and then get my CSCS. Cause I'm like, I want to go work for a hockey team, be a strength coach for a hockey team. Like, that was my thing. And then I got into personal training. I'm like, this is actually really awesome. And then I dig more research into like how much strength coaches make a year. I'm like, I don't know if I want to go that route anymore, because it was like, hours aren't the greatest, the pay isn't the greatest, and like running my own business. And then the online came into play. I'm like, this is for me now.
Yeah. It's that's the whole reason I went online, just because I couldn't stay at the gym till 10 p.m. anymore and start every morning at 5 a.m. and then have the 10 hours in the middle of the day where you're doing nothing. Like, it's brutal.
Yeah. I remember those hours suck. Did you do firefighting and personal training at the same time, or did you drop training?
Yeah. When I first started firefighting, I started as a forest firefighter, so it was seasonal. I did that for 6 years. So basically I would do it all summer, get laid off all winter, and I'd personal train all winter. And then when I got into structural firefighting, which is obviously year round, I just kept doing it as a part-time thing.
Okay. Yeah. And now I don't know how you're balancing it all, man. Like, I've often talked to my wife. I'm like, I think I'm busy, but I know Alex works like a full-time job on top of this. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, I think we're similar in that sense, though. We're just better when we're busy. Like, if I had downtime, I would just fill it with unnecessary things anyways. So it's better for me to be busy.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, the amount of time I've wasted watching movies and doing nothing in the middle of the day because I didn't know what to do. I had no accountability on what I should be doing for business.
Yeah.
It was a complete waste of time.
Yep. I think anybody listening can resonate with that, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Let's leave them with some value. We've got over 20 years of coaching experience, so let's give the audience something that they're going to walk away with that's valuable. Actually, I think something that's really important to know right out of the gate. Who do you help typically?
Typically, I'm helping parents lose weight and just honestly improve their relationship with food. I think that's one of the biggest things that I work on with my coaching program, but it's typically parents. Well, half of my roster is moms, just because that's how it ends up working out. But mostly it's fat loss and a lot of nutrition mindset based stuff.
Cool. And so my audience is women that want to lose fat sustainably. And we take kind of a 3-pillar approach with mindset, movement, and nutrition. So you and I are working with very, very similar populations. But we also take different approaches to achieve the same goal, which I think is cool. I don't think anybody can sit here and say there's one way to do this. So that's what I love about health and fitness. There's never a right or wrong. There's many different ways to do it. So I think that's cool, and it's worth addressing, because like give like a quick walkthrough, or I can go first if you want, of what a client journey kind of looks like on your side of things.
Absolutely. I mean, the start, and I think we're both similar, is where it's a ton of just information gathering. Like, we work with a specific population because that's what our skill sets lean towards. That's who we feel like we can help the most. So not everyone is going to be a fit for us, and vice versa. Like, I'm not the coach for everybody. I've never once coached a physique competitor, bodybuilder, even powerlifter. That's not really my style, even though I enjoyed powerlifting in my day. But yeah, it's a lot of information gathering. I want to get to know the person. I want them to get to know me. I lay out the process for them and how we're about to approach it. But my overarching theme is like, look, I'm not expecting the world of you. I'm here to make sure that the program fits your lifestyle, not the other way around. Because oftentimes people will try to change how they live to fit in a box of a diet or a program or something they found online or whatever it might be. So I really make sure that there's a ton of communication. Nutrition wise, I do love monitoring calories and protein just to make sure that my clients are getting enough of them. Calorie wise, more times than not, it's about awareness. Like, I'm not really looking for you to hit a number every single day. It's like once you start understanding how much you're actually eating, it's so much easier to make tweaks. And that's the other key is I'm not going to overhaul your life and say, hey, like, here's a list of foods you're not allowed to have. And here's a list of foods that you have to eat. I did that. It sucked. It doesn't last. And you reach into a binge restrict cycle. So I make sure that's a really heavy component. The other one is movement. Workout wise, it's oftentimes, 3 workouts a week is usually the average for people. I don't ask for a lot. If someone asks me for more, I often ask, can you consistently handle more? That's my first thing. I was like, everyone wants to do more. Some clients are doing 4 workouts a week because they have the time, they have the consistency to do that. Most people, it honestly falls between 2 and 3 a week on average, just because we can talk about this more often is moms are busy. Women are, like, people are busy. So sometimes it's tough to get the 3rd one in, but it's a lot of just making things realistic and not these outlandish, like, extremes of, like, you have to do this or you will fail, or like a 0 to 100 approach. But that's kind of like the gist of how we do things. A ton of communication, because I think honestly that's key. That's what coaching is about.
Especially online coaching.
Yeah, that's the other. If you want to talk about the difference between in-person and online, like, there was none in between sessions, no communication, no nothing. But online, like, I can talk to clients every day if I wanted to, or if I felt like they needed to. Like, I'll tell people to text me when they're at the gym. I'll tell them to shoot me their meal plan for the week. Like, what are you cooking this week? Things like that. So yeah, heavy on the communication as well. How about yourself?
After hearing you say that, like, super, super similar.
Yeah.
I thought there would be slightly more differences, but we run things very similarly. Huge discovery phase for sure. Figuring out where somebody's at, what they're currently doing, and what we can build off. What are the low hanging fruit that we can capture without causing massive change in a person's life. I'd say we have a very heavy emphasis on nutrition and habits and lifestyle choices, and we supplement that with movement and exercise. A lot of our clients go to things like group fitness gyms, like CrossFits and boot camps and things like that, and then use us for accountability, support, guidance, coaching, nutrition on the side of that. And then some of our clients just walk. So we definitely don't have a strong emphasis on the exercise component, but we have it available. It's something that we do too. So we will build programs to fit people's needs, but we take a really, really deep look into the nutrition mindset and habit side of things. We don't use calorie counting at all, but we just use methods to create a calorie deficit still. Nice. I mean, any successful diet is creating a calorie deficit. So we just use precision nutrition type coaching to use hand sized portions to create a calorie deficit for people so that they can look at nutrition from a different standpoint. But I mean, otherwise it sounds like things are really, really similar in the way that we approach it. I love what you said about the differences with online coaching and in-person coaching. I think that the level of accountability and support that you can get from online coaching blows in-person coaching out of the water.
It's not even close. Yeah.
But it doesn't work for people who suck at communicating.
Good point. I mean, and there will be outliers. Like, I had a client who barely responded to check-ins or messages, and he had an incredible 6 months.
Cool.
And he was super happy. And I was like, that's good, because I've been worried because I haven't heard from you in weeks.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, on average, if you're not communicating with your coach, you're not making the most out of what you're putting your money into, and B, it's going to be hard to really see the results you want if you can't communicate to your coach what's going on, because then their coach can't really help you navigate.
those people honestly stress me out to the point that I'd prefer not to work with them. Like I'll explain that on when I'm talking to somebody about our program. Like if you're not prepared to communicate, put your hand up if you're struggling, jump on a call when we need to, shoot messages back and forth. I don't want to do this. This isn't the right fit for you.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's what we said. Like we're not here to help everybody.
Yeah.
We need people who are ready to make changes and ready, honestly, to make changes to how they've approached health and fitness too. Like a lot of the times, and just to go back to the in-person versus online, I think most people still don't know what online coaching is. They're still unsure of what that means. It's growing finally, but I think a lot of the times when people want to lose weight, they put a heavy emphasis on the training, on the workouts. And you and I both know, we've talked about it already, it's not going to be the difference maker if you go to the gym 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week.
Totally.
Because if you still eat like shit,
yeah,
and your mindset's still all like messed up from previous things, it's you're gonna have a bad time regardless if you have a trainer in person or not.
Agreed. What do you think will be the most valuable thing we can share with people listening to this right now? Where do you want to take this?
Well, I think we've already started talking a little bit about just communication is key. I mean, the importance of coaching, I don't want to talk about that for the entire time because I feel like we don't necessarily need to. But we can talk about some of the pitfalls, like the biggest struggles that people face, whether it's nutrition related, mindset related, time management related. I think we can definitely dig into those because those are commonalities between both of our populations.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's bounce it back and forth. Then we'll we'll start one, and then we'll see where it goes, and then we'll bounce back and forth till we run out of time.
Love it. Let's dig.
Okay. I'm gonna start with people coming in too hot. They're going too hot out of the gate, trying to do everything all at once, and trying to turn their life around 180 degrees. So
how to approach that?
I would say that that's one of the most common pitfalls I see.
Yeah.
Agreed or disagree?
Yeah, if you take it from like they need to completely revamp everything they're doing at once. Is that what you mean?
Not necessarily people working with a coach, but this is one that like I talk to people about a lot, and they're struggling with a lot. So they'll this is where we see like the quick fixes, the crash diets, the 28-day challenges. People are just like, okay, as of Monday, I'm no longer having booze and no longer having junk food, and I'm ready to go, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I think this is like the worst place you can start.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. See, the way you phrased it, I was confused because I get it now that you explain it. I look at it more of all or nothing is how I usually describe that. Yeah, so it's the same thing. That for 110%. And as we record this mid-February, how many people have kind of already fallen off their wagon in January? Right?
If you guys have fallen off your New Year's resolution, reach out.
Yeah, this is true. Like even I'm no saint. Like January's oftentimes I'll kick myself in the ass a little bit just to kind of just be better. That's what I'll call it. I'm not a big resolution. I don't even think
there's an issue with that.
Yeah. The last 2 weeks of every year are always just very, well, they used to be relaxed, but with kids, as you know, they're not really relaxed, but it's very calorie heavy. For me now, it's a lot of travel since we moved. So January is very much a refresh, but it's not like okay, I need to undo the last 6 months of my life by cutting out everything to start January, start the year off or things like that. I think the all or nothing really just leaves them with nothing. It's
that roller coaster that I think everybody listening to this has been on one point in their life. They make rapid progress, rapid regress, rapid progress, rapid regress. And it's like, is that a life that you want to continue living? If not, stop repeating the exact same cycles you've done in the past with a different method.
Yeah. But what do you think they have? Is it what brings them to that rapid up and down? Is it because like the instant gratification of, I lost 5 pounds this week?
I think there's a couple things. I think there's this worked really well for me in the past, but we're being short-sighted when we say that because we're like, last time I did this, I lost 10 pounds. Cool. What happened after that 10 pounds?
Yeah.
It didn't work for you. Yeah. If you're right back here, starting it again, it didn't work for you. But in your head, you're like, it did work to lose those 10 pounds, but I'm going to ignore what happened after.
Yeah. Selective memory. Yeah.
I think that's one. And I think the other side of it is that there's so many shiny objects out there.
Yeah.
Marketing and your friends are probably a huge part of the problem, being like, hey, keto's been amazing, I've lost 5 pounds. That same friend's not talking about keto 3 months from now when they've gained the pounds back, but you listened to them while they were winning.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and friends aren't going to explain the lows of what they're facing too, like the brain fog you get from cutting out carbohydrates, the crash of energy you get, the foods you're missing out on, the social events you can't go to because it's not on your diet plan. They're not explaining all the hard shit that they're going through. They're just like latching onto that, yeah, I lost 5 pounds already type of mentality because they're on that high still.
And people like to share when they're winning, right?
Of course.
So it's like, oh, I feel amazing, I've lost 5 pounds. I'm on day 13 of my journey. Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. You're at like your day 13. You feel great. Like, come talk to me when you're at your worst.
Yeah.
And tell me what you think about keto.
Tell me how you got through the worst and kept going. Like, to me, that's a huge missing piece. We live in a highlight based society right now, right? I mean, that's what social media is. People aren't sharing all the shit that they're going through. It's look at all the good. And I love to bring in some of like the rough stuff that I've gone through, because I think people need to see that. I don't know if you face this, but people put fitness coaches on a pedestal. Like, totally. we can never do wrong. We always have our shit together. You know, we've never missed a workout and our diet's the cleanest. That literally has never described me whatsoever.
Same. I've struggled with, I don't want to say struggled, but like it's never been easy for me to stay lean. I don't want anybody to think it's easy to stay lean. It's not. And I go through cycles like anybody else where I'm leaner or less lean. Mm-hmm. That's not friggin' easy.
Yeah. Well, the body doesn't like to be lean either. Yeah. That's the other thing. It doesn't like change. It likes to stay at some sort of common level. But how do we get people away from the all or nothing? I think we should really dig into that a little bit.
I think something you said earlier is worth just touching on, and that it's okay to jump on periods of motivation like January 1st when you're feeling motivated. It's okay to use that, but you can't go into it blind. You need to go into it with a plan and a way out. And so kind of the way we explain this to our clients is that the journey most people take is that roller coaster: progress, regress, up and down, up and down, up and down for your whole life. You get nowhere. Mm-hmm. What we want to help people achieve, I put it into 3 phases basically, is rapid fat loss, where you're making faster progress because motivation's high. It's January, you're kicking ass, you're hitting your workouts, things are good. Sustainable fat loss, whereas where we should spend like most of our year. Mm-hmm. And it's not glorious, it's not sexy or exciting, but it's sustainable. You can still eat the things you want, do the things you want, and you still make some slow progress, even if it's absolutely minimal. Mm-hmm. But then the one that's worth really mentioning is maintenance. Like, there has to be periods where you're not making progress because of vacations and illness and injuries and whatever else life throws at you. But what's happening is we're replacing those periods of time that would have been regressions with periods of maintenance. Yeah. And that's a huge, huge win.
That's the missing piece, because the minute people feel like they're not losing weight anymore, they quit.
Yeah.
Right? They don't understand that it's okay to hold the same body fat or body weight for 2 weeks.
Totally.
There's nothing wrong with that, right? Especially if you lost 20 pounds last year and you gained 25, the year after that. Like, where does that leave you now? And are you going to keep the cycle going? That's the one thing. Obviously, I'm not going to name names, but I've seen it with quite a few people where, like, every spring, it's the cleanest diet ever. And every winter, they quote unquote bulk.
Yeah. Or
they don't care. And I get in where we live, it gets cold, so you can layer up and you can kind of hide it. But every year you're going to cut and gain fat and lose fat and gain. It sounds awful. And then the older you get, the harder that is going to be.
And like, is that realistic for people that aren't professional athletes?
There's that too, yeah.
Probably not.
Professional athletes don't have the day-to-day struggles and emotional. Like, if I was being paid to perform, that's my top priority.
Oh, you got dietitians and trainers and coaches and mindset coaches. Like, people don't understand how many support staff somebody like LeBron James has behind them to make sure that they don't fuck up.
Well, not to mention the hundreds of millions of dollars being, thrown his way.
That can't help though, can it?
No, I don't know. If I was financially incentivized to stay lean year round and never touch a donut again, for a certain number, I might have to jump on that. Screw everything else. But yeah, that's a huge thing. It's the giving up when it's hard to me is like the biggest issue. Like there are going to be periods where it sucks. Like as you described your 3 phases, I'm in the middle of phase 2 right now. 100%. January was great. January I was going pretty good, feeling good. February has been more stressful than I anticipated. So my cravings have been higher, or, my sleep hasn't been as good, and my food choices haven't been the same as they were in January. Am I going to freak out and completely just obliterate my diet? No. Like that's not going to help because time will pass. If I have a goal to feel and look a certain way, I have to just navigate through the shit. Like some of my workouts have sucked. They're done. I got them done. That's fine. Some of the time I didn't want to eat. I think chicken, rice, and broccoli last night. I didn't want to eat it, but this is what I planned. Cool. High protein, vegetables. Awesome. Is what it is.
Yeah.
Just move on.
And that life setback that's going to hit at some point inevitably, whether it's planned or unplanned. Maybe you got a vacation planned, or maybe something happens that you don't have unplanned, is probably going to throw you off your path, make your scale jump up to an uncomfortable level.
Yeah.
That's your decision time, whether or not I get back on track. You've got a couple decisions. Do I get back on track, keep moving forward? Do I go crazy and try to jump back into that all or nothing and restrict myself to a point of oblivion?
Yeah.
Or do I throw in the towel and get back on that roller coaster?
Yeah.
And most people are going to go extreme one way or the other.
Middle ground's hard. It's hard. It's hard mentally because I think if you don't know what it looks like and feels like, then you don't even know what to even do. But then also if I'll say your average fitness consumer on social media, that's what you're seeing. Like most fitness, like what we see in fitness as coaches is different than what our clients would see in fitness. And on all you see on fitness Instagram, which I don't like fitness Instagram as a whole, because it's full of shit. Like honestly, there's so much garbage.
Yeah.
This past 6 months, I've had so many clients have family members pass away. It's been like scary, but every one of them, first I give them their space to just like, I'm not here to press you. I'm here if you need to chat, but all of them took their time. We're working on whatever the bare minimum is. And that's why I love you for bringing that up too. As part of your stuff is just like, what are we doing now?
Yeah.
Are we going to go for walks? Workouts aren't on the table? No problem.
Yep.
How are you eating? Cool. And then just as things feel a little better, because life does move on, then okay, let's ramp up this aspect of things. Okay, let's track again. Let's see what you're eating. Are we going to go to the gym? Cool. You're ready for it? Let's do that. That's the shit I think that most people don't. Without support, you kind of have no idea on how to do it.
Because it's not sexy, right? Like we call it setting your bare ass minimums. It's basically stopping you from falling into all or nothing. Yep. What is the absolute least you can commit to right now that is going to stop you from doing zero? And that's not sexy or exciting. So most people without coaching and guidance are just going to be like, no, I'll go to 0 for now. And then I'll go to 100 when I feel better. Yeah.
It's terrible. And it's they're probably looking at bare minimums like, well, if I'm barely doing anything, then I'm barely going to see any change. So why bother? Like that's 100% going to be the mindset. We're like, you're always going to be better doing something, like whether it's a walk, whether it's, you cook a meal instead of ordering a meal. Like there's so many things that it adds up over time. I don't know if you've ever used like the financial analogies with fitness with clients. Like there's so many parallels between finance and fitness. It's kind of surreal. And bringing that up more and more, because I think people it hits home a little bit more.
Makes more sense to a lot, because we're immersed in health and fitness, right? So a lot of this is like, well, yeah, of course this makes sense, but it doesn't to somebody who doesn't spend 40 hours a week in this industry.
Yeah, 100%. So like your bare ass minimums are your daily deposits. It's your savings account. It automatically gets deposited there. You don't have to think about it too much. You just do it.
Yeah.
That's the compounding interest that over time you're going to get in better shape. You're going to feel better overall. It's not one big sweeping change. It's not, and both of us have this, but it's not one 12-week program. there's so much more to it than that. You and I both know that 12 weeks is great, but it's not the end all be all for anybody.
No, I'm not even gonna tell somebody that. Like, we're gonna make a ton of progress in 12 weeks together, but you're not gonna, like, if you got 50 years of bad habits behind you, 12 weeks isn't gonna fix everything.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. Like, we talk about false promises in the industry. And all these pitfalls, I think, fall into each other. Like, we talked about all or nothing. We've talked about, expectations heading into stuff, marketing, how to navigate bad times. They're all intertwined.
I think the easiest way for me to explain, to wrap this part up, is to look at weight loss. Although it doesn't have to be weight loss, it could be any form of progress, but weight loss is an easy reference. If we weigh in every single day, which I actually ask my clients to weigh in frequently. I know there's pros and cons to both sides of that, but if we look at a weight every single day, it's up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And you look at a whole journey, and like each of those ups and downs drives you a little bit insane along the journey. But if then we wiped it all out at the end and just had point A starting, point B finish, people be like, oh, cool. That was a really good journey, regardless of how many ups and downs were in between. Right? Yeah. They'd just be like, oh, this was an awesome journey. Look at all the progress I made. And if you told somebody today, hey, like 90 days from now, you're going to be 15 pounds lighter. And would you be happy with that? Yeah. And then if at 15 pounds, you got stuck there for a bit and you maintain that for another month or two, would you still be happy with that? Well, yeah, I'd be 15 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
So most people going into it would be happy with that, but then as it starts to happen and they see those ups and downs and they get stuck at those points, the frustration sits in. So taking a step back and looking at where you've come from, I think is huge.
Yeah. Well, I think it's not getting wrapped up in the day-to-day. Like, I have a ton of clients that do weigh in daily because they can mentally handle it, and I have some who don't weigh in at all because it makes the journey harder than it needs to be, right? I'm like, you're feeling good, check-ins are good, you're crushing your workouts, but you're like, I'm not happy because the scale hasn't budged. We have a problem here because we're just putting so much emphasis on a number that is going to fluctuate every single day. And women, even more so than men, we have that advantage where our bodies don't change every single month or 1 week out of the month. Like it's easier for us. So like, that's the big thing. But yeah, understanding the fluctuations is key. I try to drive that home quite a bit because they will happen no matter what you do.
For sure.
Expectations are on the scale or another one. It's like, hey, I ate so good today, I'm going to see a lower number tomorrow. Like, you're screwing yourself over big time.
Yeah, I love that. You have zero control over what that number on the scale is going to say tomorrow.
Yeah.
You can control the actions that will eventually influence the scale.
Yeah.
But that scale is going to say whatever the hell it needs to say.
That's true. And I love the clients that do weigh in daily or frequently. I love showing them the trend. I love when you zoom out, it's been 3 months, it's been 6 months, and you see all those spikes, but then you see the new low average and then the other spikes. And it's just, they can be like, holy shit, like I did that. Like, that's another thing with pride. It's like, you have to go through some difficult times to accomplish something that you've never had before. You can probably attest to this from a business perspective. Like, the last 2.5 years were tough. Like, there was a lot of growing pains. There was a lot of frustrations. There's a lot of moments I would wake up and be like I would want to avoid check-ins or like struggle mentally with the process. But here I am. Right?
Absolutely.
There's no quit. And I think it's easy to quit a fitness journey. I think that's part of it too. It's like, I'm on this diet. Okay, I'm off this diet. This diet sucks. I'm done.
It's the same as programs, exercise programs. Not even if you're listening to this not from a nutrition standpoint, it's the same with the push and pull people do with fancy exercise programs. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this. Well, let me tell you, the number one factor of success is going to be consistency. And if you don't give the opportunity of consistency to any of those programs, you're never going to make progress.
Yeah. How do you help people around that? Like, those would be like, I want more variety in my workouts and things like that.
We try to find a balance between what somebody really enjoys and what they actually need. But at the end of the day, we just talk about it a lot. Like I don't want to say often, but there are people who will be like, hey, the workouts for the last 3 weeks have been getting kind of boring. They're very similar. But it's that same shiny object syndrome, right? A lot of people don't know or understand what progressive overload is because they're not immersed in this industry. So we can't expect them to understand what that means. But it's necessary.
Yeah.
And so if you're listening to this, like basically, if you constantly change what you're doing, you're not really giving your body a reason to get better at something. It doesn't have that necessity. When we do the same movement over and over and over again, we constantly make it a greater stress, then our body's like, oh shit, I need to adapt and become better to do this.
Yeah.
And when you explain that to somebody, they're like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. And we will change it up and give you some variety down the road, but we need to build in progression before we do that.
Yeah. Well, I think a big problem there is, yes, they don't understand the connection between progressive overload and what they want to achieve. But I think a lot of the times with workouts, they equate sweating or how hard it was or how difficult the workout was after to like, that was a good workout, or I want more of that. So they don't see the adaptation of like more reps or more weight on the bar. It's, I sweat less today, so next time it needs to be a harder workout.
Yep. Yeah. Even talking about the benefits of resistance training. I mean, we don't need to get into that much, but or really we don't have time to get into all of it. But resistance training plays a huge role, regardless of what your goals are. Resistance training is going to likely help you get to those goals. A lot of people think that they're doing resistance training because they use weights.
Yeah, nice. I like that. Talk about
and
that
it's
more. Yeah.
Sure, it's a form. It like you're adding resistance. I get it. At a base level, it is some form of resistance training. But if you're doing a high intensity class with light weights and 1,000,000 repetitions, it's no longer resistance training. You're doing cardio. You're doing high intensity exercise. It's very, very different.
I love that. Yeah. I'm smiling ear to ear. It's a podcast, so nobody else can see that. But it's a conversation I have, I think, at least once a month with a client, new client or existing sometimes. It's like, look, I actually had a talk this past week with a client. Like, I understand what your goals are. This is what you told me. You want to run for a 5K? Cool. I think half marathon now. Awesome. We need to change your workouts, because he's just doing like Tabata style 3 times a week. And I'm like, look, man, you're already stressed. Your job is stressful. Running, 3 times a week for your half marathon is stressful. You want to tone, you want to see muscle definition. We need to increase the weights. Like, we need to work on less reps.
Yeah.
Because I think they were doing, reps for an entire song or something like I'm like, holy shit,
which
man.
is it's a workout for your heart.
Yeah, which is cool. But if you have a body composition goal, you need to lift heavier, not heavy. Heavier is relative.
Yeah,
to everyone. But yeah, I'm really glad to bring that up, because most people just go to work out to sweat. I'm like, cool, it feels good, but is it actually helping you progress?
And so when they first get introduced to something that is a strength training based program, it's confusing, because it's like, well, like, I lifted heavy, but the breaks were way too long. I need something to fill those gaps between the breaks. I didn't sweat at all. It didn't really feel that hard. But like, that's what we're talking about. That's what you need. That is what is going to create the adaptations that you're looking for.
Yeah. I took a client on last year, which in retrospect I shouldn't have, but she had 7 different trainers in the past. And I was like, okay. She quit a week and a half in. She's like, yeah, the workouts aren't hard enough. And I was like, we talked about this. Like, in that point, that's fine. Like, I'm not here to change anyone's mind. If you're out, you're out. I'm not here to pull you in. But she was like, the rest times were too long, and I feel like it wasn't intense enough. She needed consistent strength training. She didn't need to sweat. She spent years pouring sweat in workouts and still didn't see a result.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it's a huge difference maker for sure.
And combining the two is fun. It's exciting. High intensity is exciting. Like, it's cool. You can do that kind of stuff once in a while. It's fine. But you're not getting the best of either world by doing so. It's like doing squats on top of a medicine ball.
Oh God.
Like, it's fancy and cool, but you could do better doing your squats over here and doing some agility and balance work over here.
Yeah.
You're getting like a kind of half-ass version of both by doing them together.
Yeah, I love that. Like the combo moves.
Yeah.
Like a squat with a bicep curl, which like I can squat, I don't know how many times more weight than I can bicep curl. So why am I doing
Totally.
a half-ass version of both, essentially?
That's what high intensity workouts are like to me. Like it's fun and it's fancy and you can include them, but like separate your cardio and your strength training.
Yeah, 100%. I love that, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's leave them with some words of wisdom, maybe.
Ooh, shit. On top of everything else we've already said?
Yeah, like it's so for me, think of that all or nothing. All or nothing's massive. And think of consistency. What could I do to, if you're listening to this, what could I do to avoid falling into the all or nothing? So set your bare ass minimums. And is the thing that I'm looking at doing or changing or adding something I could do consistently? Nice. When I say consistently, I don't mean for the next 28 days. If it's not something you could do for the rest of this year, don't entertain it.
That's huge. I like that. I'm gonna go with something completely different, just because we didn't talk about it, but I want to bring it up. It's the story that you tell yourself. Like what are you telling yourself about your habits, about your fitness journey, about who you are as a person? Like I know a lot of people are, I can't stop eating this, or I have such a hard time with this, or I could never lose weight. If you keep telling yourself that, you might as well just buckle in, because you're not going anywhere. Like you're going to be stuck in this exact same point. And I've had an issue with weekend eating. I mean, I learned how to adapt my approach to it, where I talked about this on my group coaching call last night with my clients. Of like every Friday I'm wiped, man. Like I'm not cooking, and oftentimes we'll do frozen pizza, which like RIP Delicio, because apparently they're not coming to Canada pretty soon anymore.
Oh wow.
Like, I don't like frozen pizza. I just do it because it's cheaper. It's a little bit calorie conscious. But I'm like, you know what? I want some grease. I want some greasy pizza. Maybe I want some chicken wings. And I'm not going to eat the whole order. But I'm like, look, I can plan my week around having a bit of a higher calorie meal on Fridays, because I don't want to cook and I'm exhausted. And maybe I do want a beer with that meal. And I don't make myself feel bad for it. And I budget for it financially too. So it's one of those, like, if I kept telling myself, oh, I shouldn't have this, and then I have it, then I feel bad for having it. Then how am I showing up for myself after that?
Dude,
right?
The amount of people that I've talked to that are like, oh, I have a terrible metabolism. It's like, well, how do you know that? How can you possibly know that? And I'm not, if you're listening to this and that resonates with you and you're like, yeah, I have a terrible metabolism, like I'm not criticizing you, but you probably don't.
Agreed. You
probably don't. And you're doing exactly what John's talking about, and you're making yourself believe you have a terrible metabolism.
Yeah. Well, that's why I love calorie counting and awareness.
Yeah.
Like I'll have some clients send me pictures of their meals, just so if they don't want to track, cool, let me see what you're eating. Right. Sometimes just that in itself is like, we tell ourselves these things. I've had clients say, oh, I ate so bad this weekend. I'm like, tell me everything you ate and I will do the count for you. And 90% of the time, it's never as bad as what you think it is in your head.
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
It's one of those things that I don't want to say people make excuses for themselves. I think we inherently, as human beings, we do try to find the path of least resistance for sure. But in order to see a result, like a sustainable, like 20 pounds lost, whatever it might be, you need to start being honest and aware of like what your habits are. How do you show up for yourself? If you're showing up for yourself, are you constantly going to bed late? Are you saying, oh, I can't control myself with these foods? Whatever it might be. I have a slow metabolism. Chances are you probably don't. And this is not us being like assholes to you. This is just the reality is you probably don't. You just, you overeat. You probably do too much cardio or you don't move at all. And there's no strength training. If you combine all of those things, you're not going to be burning many calories. You're going to be overindulging.
It might not even feel like you overeat because you think you eat healthy. You eat a lot of like avocado toast and stuff, which is fine. Like you can have avocado toast, but it's super high calorie and it's not really giving you the nutrients you need on a fat loss journey. So it's sometimes you feel like you don't eat a lot, but those calories could be better allocated.
Oh, that's a whole nother topic too.
Totally.
To get into the protein and all that. I've never, as a fun fact, I've never once had avocado toast.
Yeah, neither have I.
Okay.
I love
is it that good?
I don't know. I love avocados. I'm like, to me, I'm not wasting calories on toast most of the time though.
Nice. Okay.
Like
I love bagels. I can't lie.
yeah, bagels are amazing, and like I'd rather have like nachos or pizza or wings, like you're talking about.
It's true.
And I preach the exact same thing you're talking about. Like if you want real pizza, have real pizza.
Yeah.
Have a smaller portion, supplement it with whatever you need to hit your goals.
Yeah.
Have a chicken breast before you eat your pizza, and then enjoy your pizza if you need to. But have the real pizza, because cauliflower pizza sucks.
Oh god, it's not pizza, man. It's not. Yeah, that's the healthy alternatives of the things you're trying to eat. Just eat the real thing. Like I can go get a Quest peanut butter cups. They're more calories than Reese peanut butter cups. So why would I just go eat Reese peanut butter cups?
Yeah, and then have a protein shake later.
Yeah, and have a shake with it.
Yeah,
right. It's that's a whole nother bag of worms. But anyways,
agreed.
Let's wrap it up now. Where can everyone find you, my friend? For those that don't know,
follow me at Breaking 90 Fitness on Instagram. You'll find us anywhere. Breaking 90 Fitness. Yourself?
Yeah, buddy. Strong Jon Fitness across all platforms: podcast, website, Instagram. That's the main three.
Sweet. Well, awesome. I hope everybody got some value from this, and if you did, let us know. And if you like what we're talking about, go follow both of us because we appreciate that. And if you want us to do it again, give us a shout out, and we'll line up another one.
Hell yeah! Part 2 is definitely gonna be in the works.
Yeah, there is an old one somewhere. If people want to dig it up, we did one a couple of years ago, so go check it out.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, buddy. Appreciate it.
Later, man.